Welcome to REST, which stands for Resiliency and Empowerment Seminar today. I am your host, Susan Gans, and I am the founder and business strategist with Gans Strategic Solutions, where we operate at the intersection of business and human behavior. This show is about highlighting the journeys of the leaders of small and mid-sized businesses as well as nonprofits. The idea is to hear about their journeys, to hear about their organizations, and very importantly, these days, to hear how they are being resilient. Today, I'm very excited to have our guest, who is Jackie Gernaey, and a bit about Jackie. She founded SevenStar HR in 2017 as the second generation of an effective hiring product line that began 10 years earlier. For the past 20 years, Jackie has coached private business owners, logging over 10,000 coaching hours and working with them to help them to achieve their business and personal goals. Her vision as the CEO of SevenStar HR was to offer solutions for one of the toughest challenges business owners face: hiring and managing employees. And personally, I have the pleasure of knowing Jackie through a mutual group that we are in, the M&A Network. And with that, I'd like to welcome Jackie to our show.
Thank you so much, Susan. It's nice to be here.
Wonderful. So let's get started. Take us back to the earlier part of your career. What inspired you to get into human resources? I know you had a different journey in mind at the beginning of your career, so share it with us.
So I've had a real interesting career. I started as a microbiologist, which is kind of odd, and ran a microbiology laboratory in a 450-bed hospital. But I decided managing bacteria was not going to be my long-term career goal. So I went into sales management, and ultimately became the president of a 25 million, 200 employee company. We sold that company, and then I went into the coaching, and actually I started with consulting, where I spent my time running up and down the New Jersey Turnpike, working with pharmaceutical companies. Decided that probably wasn't going to be what I wanted to do, especially coming from Long Island, having to go all the way over there. So I started the alternative board, purchased a franchise, and then based on that, what business owners were telling me as a coaching business, as you well know, Susan, your job is to teach your clients how to fish. And when it came to HR, what my client said to me is, Jackie, could you just give us the blasted fish? We don't want to be doing the HR. We're not good at hiring. And that was the birth of SevenStar HR.
Fantastic. And along the way, what has been your biggest learning in the business?
Well, I guess make sure you understand your market and understand the tools that your market really needs. I think those are the most important things, and come up with a niche way, if you can, to provide those services to your clients. Especially now, you have to do some of it in a virtual manner.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. How are you being resilient, and how are the companies that you're working with being resilient?
So, I think that I am being resilient. I don't know any other way, I guess, than to be resilient. And, I really believe that adversity and failure are to be thought of as lessons learned. So when you get one of those lovely lessons given to you, you need to regroup and think, what am I going to do going forward? Because the past you can't change, so you just need to move forward. Now, that's the what we try to focus our clients on as well. Is here's where we are today. How are we going to overcome this particular issue, which happens right now to be COVID? So.
Absolutely. And you said some really important things, which is about learning from the adversity and the failure. And I have a mentor who taught me that there are two types of experiences in life. There are pleasant experiences, and then there are learning experiences.
Very perfect. Perfect. That's my philosophy too. You know, I never, even when I'm dealing with my employees, you know, you don't need to beat them for the past. They can't change it, right?
Yeah.
So you gotta figure out, what are we going to get out of this mistake? How are we going to get better?
Yes. What's the gift in the mistake?
Exactly. Exactly.
Along the way, Jackie, I know you're a coach too. Who have been your mentors and sponsors, and have they changed over time as you have progressed through your career and gone in different directions?
You know, so I started out in a hospital laboratory, and I can't say that I had any real mentors there. But as I progressed throughout my career, I'd say I was extremely lucky. I had great bosses who were more than happy to let me just run with it. I said to someone, maybe it even was you, Susan, when we talked before, I've never gotten a job that I knew how to do. So it's like, you got to figure it out and then move through it, you know?
Which is fantastic. So that brings me to a question about empowering and empowering yourself and empowering others. So share with us your secrets to doing that.
Okay, so my belief is empowerment takes two pieces: giving people the responsibility, of course, that's fairly easy, but also giving them the authority to make the decisions and move forward. If you're not doing that, everything funnels through me, and that is an issue. So I'm empowered because I'm the owner. So it's easy to be empowered, but it's harder to ensure that you're empowering your employees, again, by giving them the authority to even make mistakes. You obviously don't want them to make the mistake that's going to bring a business down, your business to a
Right.
crumble. But hey, people learn through mistakes. So
And I would say that's so important to do and harder to execute sometimes. Like just thinking about even being a parent and seeing your children make mistakes, you might have the foresight that they don't see, but letting them learn the lesson.
mhm. Yep, yep,
Really
yep.
hard to take that step back, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And you know, when you're talking about that empowering, there are different levels that you can start yourself with if you need to. You know, go find the information and come back and discuss it with me. That's the lowest level of
Right.
empowerment. Go find it and do it, and don't even tell me about it. That's the very highest level
Yes,
of empowerment.
absolutely. So if you had to go back in time and talk to your younger self, what advice would you give her?
You know, I have been either very lucky, very fortunate, or whatever. But I I think the thing that I would tell my younger self is continue working hard and playing hard. It's going to be all right. You're going to do great.
I love that. It's really what you're talking about is having a more balanced life and perspective. It doesn't have to be 24/7 work. It's okay, making it okay and getting rid of the guilt to also enjoy life. We're put on this earth to not only work and serve in our strengths, but and also to connect with others and to live our lives and to enjoy nature and
All those great things. And Susan, remember, guilt can't be given, it has to be received. So if you say to yourself, I'm not receiving that guilt, even if it's coming from you, that's a good way to look at it.
I like that. I'm going to incorporate that. So guilt has to be received and you don't have to take that on.
Exactly.
That's very
Absolutely.
freeing.
It is a freeing situation.
Perfect. Is there a key word or a phrase or something that inspires you, especially when you're having a day where you could be particularly challenged? Is there something that inspires you on a daily basis, word or phrase?
Well, I have a mantra, and that is is can't can't is not part of my vocabulary. So if I keep that in mind, we can look at it and make decisions not to do something. It may be too expensive. Say we're doing marketing and it's we never say we can't do that. We can do anything. We just need to make decisions as to whether we are going to do it or it's too expensive or the time isn't right or whatever. Then that's the thing that my employees constantly hear from me. So I don't want to hear can't. What are the, how might we do it? And then we see if we want to do it.
So, as a recovering perfectionist, myself speaking now, one of the things is, am I making the right decision? That's part of something that could get in somebody's way in determining how to move through the challenge. So, what's your advice in going through that decision making process?
So some people and people are different behavioral styles. So some people really struggle with the step by step and the fear of making the wrong decision. But actually, if you make the wrong decision, you learn something and you can correct it. So the big issue for me is making no decision is the worst thing that you can do. And then you correct from there. You're the only one that's going to say it's right or wrong after you made it if you're a business leader. So go for it. Give it a try. Don't be fearful.
Yes, and I think that's the biggest thing I see is some form of fear getting in people's way in terms of growing their business or developing their careers. So I'm glad to hear you hold a safe space for people to keep your mantra of learning and can-do attitude. So that's been fantastic. And what would you say is the why of your organization? What's the purpose of SevenStar HR? I mean, I shared a little bit of background, but can you share a bit of the why?
So what we found, I talked a little bit about the fish,
Yes.
so the why behind Seven Star is to allow businesses leaders to be able to use a fractional, a variable expense model, I guess is a better way of putting it, to get them out of the day-to-day dealing with employees and employee issues. This one's mad at that one and all of that kind of stuff, and get them really focused on growing their businesses and doing what really needs from a higher level instead of getting down and mucking in the weeds.
Sure. It's really about you're taking on all of the operational pieces of
Correct.
human resources, which might not be the strength of that particular leader of the
Or
organization.
the love of, you
Yes,
know,
right. The strength or
because
the love that they
you
really,
can have a strength but hate it. You know, you shouldn't have
yeah.
to do either as the business owner.
Yes, absolutely. Which brings me to a question about values. What would you say are your core leadership values or even the values of Seven-Star HR?
Well, I think our number one value is to create value for our clients. If we're always focused on creating value for our clients, you know, we're going to be held in good stead because that's what they're looking for. I kind of have three that I use. The second is have a sense of urgency. We're in a very fast moving environment, and the people that you're dealing with really want the answer right now. So
Yeah.
if they emailed you or called you or whatever, they need an answer. And then expand the art of the possible for all of our is my third value. It can be. It can be.
Yes, the art of the possible is one of my mantras too, and a reason why I took on a role in my board work a few years ago as president of the Financial Women's Association. I wanted to show my daughters the art of the possible of being a professional person, being a community person, and being a family person. That with the
You
right
should be
support,
able to do it all. It is possible.
it is possible. So, in wrapping up our conversation, what would you like our audience to remember about our conversation today?
I think whenever possible, use a variable expense in your organization, whatever you're doing, whether it's HR or bookkeeping or whatever. Use a variable expense. Dealing with employees is a whole pain in the neck, right? And variable expense really allows you to manage your bottom line much better than taking on employees to do every single thing you have. So I think that would be the thing I would want them to remember.
So it's important what you're saying here is to offload and to better manage and be more efficient on managing your business. You consider making a variable expense for various parts of your operations, whether that's the bookkeeping piece or human resources or marketing for that matter.
Exactly.
So, Jackie, how can people find you? Because we want you to be found.
So we have two websites. SevenStarHR.com is one, and the other one is EffectiveHiring.com, just as they sound. I can always be, if somebody wants to reach me directly, you can always call me. My number is 631 350 5296, or email me at Jackie at 7starhr.com.
So I am going to repeat all that. So you can find Jackie via two websites, 7star written out hr.com or effectivehiring.com. You can reach her directly at 631-350-5296 or email her at Jackie at 7starhr.com. Did I get that right?
You got it all perfectly, Susan.
Fantastic. It's been such a pleasure talking to you today, Jackie. I really appreciated, and what resonated with me was about the can-do attitude, and guilt is something that we can control by not receiving it and not taking that on. That was very liberating. And to our audience, I hope that you embrace what Jackie talks about in terms of the art of the possible. Until our next conversation,